Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kings and Priests podcast. And until further notice, this podcast is just going to be brought to you by Sermonly and Pulpit AI, because
There
why
you
not?
go. I love that.
I'm
The
like,
two hottest AI tools in Christendom.
Exactly. What else is our own media platform if we can't talk about our own products, right?
This is true. Well, Pulpit AI is blowing up. How many signups you got? Like
over 800.
Love it.
I was just going to say, it's funny, I've watched Fox News. So Fox News did a reporter emailed me, and I just did, instead of getting on the phone, we just did like a back and forth on email. And then I woke up a couple mornings ago and had like 100 signups and was like, what's talking about this? And I've been watching as they have changed the image and the caption on the article.
Interesting.
And moved it around their website. So like last night, for example, I was sitting there at dinner and all of a sudden there was like 40 more signups in 6 minutes. And I went to their site and they had changed the thumbnail image and then made the headline look like it was a sermon writing tool. And I'm like, man, this is just too good. Anyways, awesome. So yeah, and then Sermonly, the difference between Pulpit AI and Sermonly right now is Sermonly actually is a product that is working and has people on it, and Pulpit AI.
Right. I think I had numbers yesterday, like it's been out a week, and I think we have 140 something subscribers and
people
like
using it,
revenue. So it's like, I got to get that thing. I got to get it. I want to get it to 20 grand a month in MRR, as quick as we can, which essentially is it costs about $250 to build that.
Okay.
Like engineering time. So, get to 20 a month and things paid for in 12 months and it's all gravy after that.
Yeah. Right. That's amazing. Yeah. Now, does it write sermons? It doesn't. It just helps you research.
It's a research tool, right?
And type out. Yep.
Yeah. It's essentially like it's, docs or Microsoft Word or Pages or whatever. So it's a writing tool, but we did all these, like in Notion, you have all these shortcuts like / @ and so you write your sermon, but it's got the research built in AI. So you just open the researcher, put in hey, give me 4 scriptures on grace. Boom, back they come, and then you go and you put each scripture back in the AI and say, exposit, Ephesians 2 verse 8. In the voice of Charles Spurgeon.
Sick.
Boom, right?
I always tell my wife when she gets mad at me for smoking cigars that Charles Spurgeon smokes cigars. So
Chesterton and all those guys.
If he did it, I can do it.
That's right, it's true. I can't stand it, but anyway.
Yeah, Jake can't either. If the cigars come out, Jake's like, "See ya, I'm out of here."
I'm the same. I'm the same. That's not that from me.
That's cool. I had another question for you. Anyways, it had to do with Sermonly.
Sermonly rocks, man. It's like and we've got we're adding little things all the time, making it better. I think it's going to go, but I think AI is going to go too.
It's two different things. It serves two different.
Yeah,
but it's the church people love it. Church people love this stuff.
Yeah,
academics don't love this stuff yet.
I think
church people are reaching out to me I got an email today from a guy in the UK that said, if this works, it will save me 10 to 12 hours a week.
That's right.
And I think church people who are day in and day out, pastors day in and day out, who do this stuff, they need tools to help them,
I think it's under 40, over 40, to be honest. Like a lot of times, and I'm over 40, obviously, but I kind of work very, very hard at staying current. But yeah, it's just a mindset. The boomer crowd, man, they don't want to change, and it's like drives me nuts. If you could save, like with Sermonly, research time is probably cut 80, 90%. Like you've still got to do the work of writing the sermon, but going to the web and doing all this research, it just cuts that by 80% easy.
Yep. And
like Pulpit AI, like pumping in the audio. And having it do all the social and clip it and do it and make the notes out of it. Like it's a lot of people don't even do that because it's too time consuming.
Exactly.
So it's going to create all this incredible content out of preach it once, get 50 assets, right? It's like, it's awesome.
Church staffs, man. Church staffs work so hard.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
and anything that they can do to save time is going to be huge. I also, so once I'm like any day now having the second baby. And once I get back from that, which is going to probably be like, I told my wife, I'm like, her mother-in-law's coming in for 6 weeks. Cause I was like, I'm going to take 3 days off and then it's time to get back to it.
No 6-week paternity leave for you.
Yeah, not happening. But we've spun up we haven't started it yet, but a new podcast and newsletter called The New Printing Press, thenewprintingpress.com.
I did see that.
You're going to have to be, a regular. I just keep I just keep adding stuff and go, come on, Dean, jump on. But to talk all things church tech, education, both super hyper practical, but also philosophical and theological. Like, how should we think about all of this? And so that'll be fun. I think it'll be a good just outlet for us to explore all of this stuff. So, okay, let's talk about David Ogilvy, because we were going to do this a couple of weeks ago. We actually ran out of time, and there's so much good stuff on here.
Yep.
I love David Ogilvy because he just is right to the point. He says,
just to like give the background, he basically is the father of advertising, modern advertising, and 60s, 70s really shaped the whole advertising industry. And he was a massive, first adopting on so many things and principles. So you're talking about, you talk about sales and marketing.
Yep.
This guy is, and all his books are worth reading. Like, he's a legend.
Yeah. And, he talks a lot about all of his books were simply marketing for his agency. I mean, even all of that stuff he put out was the reason he did it. And if you've seen, if you've seen Mad Men, a lot of the source material for that came from a lot of the stories that David Ogilvy told. So I want to go through, there's 22 of these. Some of them touch on things we talk about a lot, but others kind of will take us into, semi-new territory. So we can roll through these. We'll, stick on the ones that are most interesting and keep going. So number one is this: you have a first-class mind, stretch it. I feel like we talk about this a lot.
Yeah. Totally. Learn. That's just, you got to see your brain as a vacuum cleaner for information. You are literally like sucking in every bit of information on things that you want to focus on, be passionate about. Everything is available about everything. Every fact is available, every teaching, everything's available for everything. And throw, not just YouTube now, but, throw AI in now and ChatGPT 4. You can just find out about, you can learn anything about anything. So it's the level to which you're motivated is going to determine how successful you're going to be.
Yep.
So if you're motivated to learn, you'll be successful. If you're not motivated, you won't.
Yep. I love that. Number two, the longer your memos, insert emails, decks, all of it, the less likely they are to be read by men who have the power to act on them.
1000% agree. If I see a 6-paragraph email,
not reading it.
Yeah. And I answer in 1 word and 2 word responses, or 1 sentence.
Yep.
And I don't have time to read 6-paragraph emails. Give me 4 bullet points, and maybe you get me.
The busiest guy I ever worked with, and it sounds like such a name drop, but whatever, it is what it is. I was one of 2 employees at a company that Ryan Seacrest was running. And at the time, he was hosting 4 shows a day, making about $90 million a year, personally, at this time. No. When you emailed him, the unspoken rule was the email or the text needed to be able to be responded to in simply yes or no.
Yep. I love it.
But that was how you got him to respond.
That's it.
And that's because it's like, you got a lot of things going on. And by the way, that guy's yes could move whole companies. Right. Totally. And that's so true. Short. Yeah. If you're a young person trying to get in touch with someone who is a CEO, who is busy, who is successful, short, brevity, make it easy for them, because that makes, I have found, I've never been the one doing the responding. I've always been the one needing to get the response for the most part. and the shorter the better has always worked. Number 3, permanent success has always been permanent success has rarely been built on frivolity. People do not buy from clowns.
Frivolity.
Yeah.
There's a time for fun and jokes, but when you're doing serious business, you better have your serious business face on and come to the moment prepared, 100%.
Number 4, only first class business, and that in a first class way.
Yeah, I mean, it's the old Jack Welch thing, right? Like in GE's prime, they strove to be 1 or 2 in any industry they were in. They weren't interested in, being 5th and 8th. Like they just wanted to be either the 1st or 2nd in a, jet engines, like all the million things they did. And so, yeah, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well. I would say in this age of digital, so this was written before the digital age. In the age of digital, getting to market, having an MVP that people can play with and mess around with, there's nuance to that one, but we want to
totally.
Yeah, we want to do it.
Well. Someone said something to me actually just last week about AI, and the space of AI. And this person was a growth stage venture investor, like one of the big checks into Robinhood, DoorDash. So, knows what he's talking about. At least he's seen a lot of companies.
Totally.
And he said when it comes to AI and AI products, because it's so new, people are more forgiving than they've ever been. And so actually the expectation for an MVP, even like a beta version 1, is actually not as high as it is with other products. And so the quickness of shipping is so important. And I do think I like what you said. In this digital world, it's like it is a get it out into the world, get hands on it.
Yeah, we probably shipped suddenly, like we had it on the shelf for a couple of years before AI, and we didn't promote it. It was just kind of tricking along with a few hundred users, and it had a private Facebook group, and it was not really a product we sold. But in that 2 years, we did have product market fit and an MVP like in the bag, but we probably shipped it at 80% of where we're going to take it. But that's software, right? You're not going to ship a piece of software and be perfect.
Right.
It's not really designed to do that. You're always iterating, both on the current features and new features.
I'm just making a note here really quick. Okay.
Get rid of sad dogs who spread doom.
I love this one.
Amen.
I love this one, man.
Oh man, if you consider yourself like, oh, I'm a contrarian and I gotta be the voice of reason, it's like,
go work at a big company that moves slowly.
Get out of my world. I don't want to. Now, I want constructive criticism. I want people around me who are going to help me see things maybe I'm not good at seeing, which is plenty of that. But you can do it in a way. Like I've had people that I've worked with over the years that have that personality where the glass isn't always half full.
Yep.
But either they intuitively understood or I taught them how to come to me with, a contrarian view or a constructive criticism, right, in such a way that moves us forward. It doesn't like pour water on the fire that I'm trying to light here and keep burning. And so if you find yourself being that person, and often you're in a support role, you're not the leader, you're a leader, but in a role where you're, not the main person in front, just work out a way to be able to talk to your leader in a way that they'll be able to hear it and adjust course if need be, right? We always need to do that, but just don't pride yourself in being that negative person.
No, there's a really practical, because I have been on the opposite side of that, where I've been employee in an organization. And when you're an employee, your hands are in a lot more things. You see a lot more things. And so you do see a lot of the problems. The problem with that is most founders, or in a church context, senior pastors, like they're going to be visionaries, and they're always, most of the time, they're going to assume the best and believe the best. And so I always tell people, like, it's not that you don't bring them problems or issues. It's that you first of all, you understand the leader or the founder.
Right.
And so you come at it as a place of like, hey, I want to help the vision come to pass. Like I believe in what we're doing, but it's like tone, and it's like, what's the way in, And I think a leader can tell if someone's coming to them with, hey, I want to help make this better, and here's something that I've seen, versus like, I'm just going to be the contrarian to be the contrarian.
Yeah.
Right. No boss, like you're never going to get mad at someone who comes to you and says, hey, I see an opportunity here, here, and here.
Right.
It's just in the way that it's done, and almost also in like the heart that it's done in. Right.
Yeah. And you got to understand too, that visionary leaders are not afraid to fail. They don't care.
Yep.
So you come in like the train's going off the cliff. The visionary leader doesn't care. They just gonna pick up the pieces and go again.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas a lot of times the support guys are like, this is gonna fail. The visionary's like, I don't care if it fails. We're swinging for the fans.
Yes.
And so like get off the train if you're not.
That's so true.
So
that's so true. That's so true. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Number 6, we talk about pick a subject and make yourself an authority on it. We've talked about that a ton. The more you tell, the more you sell.
I love that.
Yep.
Right. So have you ever been around people that all they do is tell you, like selling, I'm always selling. I'm never not selling. And which means I'm always talking about the thing I'm doing, and I'm telling stories about it and anecdotes and things I got from customers and wins. And like, I mean, you know me long enough to know that like we're going to start chatting about whatever, and it's not going to be long before I start talking about, what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's, you gotta, especially if you're the leader, the chief visionary, you've always got to be selling, which means you're always talking about what you're doing. And that is absolutely the truth.
Let's see. We have a habit of divine discontent with our performance. It is an antidote to smugness. That's a big one. That's a very philosophical. That's a philosophical one.
Yeah. I think that's just being real, right? With where you're at, and not thinking of yourself more highly than you would, which is a biblical truth. And so it's staying humble even within success, and knowing that you can always do more, and keep your attitude right, when you're winning.
Yep, that's great. Big ideas are usually simple ideas. That's very true. I mean, true. If you are pitching, if you're telling someone your idea, and you have to work hard to make it make sense to you, usually it's not and I've had plenty of those. I've had so many of those in my life. I love this one. Search all the parks in your cities. You'll find no statues of committees. That is a classic David Ogilvy statement.
Like collaboration is obviously great. Getting people together. I get with my kind of senior team, probably 4 times a year in person. We're, on Zoom all day, every day. But, there's a difference between collaborating together, solving problems together, and like sending a problem to a group of 6 people to go and, have some kind of, navel gazing exercise. It's like, that's a leadership statement that leaders totally understand. And if you're not a leader, sometimes you won't get that. You'll think it's overly, obnoxiously,
authoritative or
positive. And it's like, that's what you got to be to move the needle on stuff. So it is.
This one is great. Number 11. And it's honestly actually probably his most famous statement that has sort of really stood the test of time, that people use. I mean, I've heard this statement used hundreds of times. And that is, you aren't advertising to a standing army. You are advertising to a moving parade. Now, what he meant by this was, when you find a way to talk about and sell your product that works, don't change it.
Right.
Because you're not advertising to the same person over and over and over again. Right. They need the same thing repeated hundreds of times in the exact same way. And that to me is like that was the context for how he was talking about this. I think nowadays the same context makes sense, but also people are just bombarded with stuff every single day, right?
I think in the modern context, the moving parade is the busyness of life. And the ability to penetrate. Like I probably get 50 solicitation emails a day, which I hate LinkedIn because they go in there and they get my stuff. And then I block them all. But sometimes I read them. It's really interesting. It's like 1 out of 50. And I virtually never respond, maybe like 1 in 1,000.
Yep.
But that's what it's like today. It's really hard.
Yeah, it really is. Great industrial leaders are always fanatically committed to their jobs. They are not lazy or amateurs. I just love that. The idea of just being a pro.
It's kind of old school work ethic, right? Like it's just it's like turn of the century industrial, getting your hands dirty, going to the factory, getting up every day, you're making stuff. I love that.
In the best companies, promises are always kept, whether it may cost in agony and overtime. Whatever it may cost in agony and overtime.
Yeah, I mean, and they, being true to your employees and serving them and in ways that they really will go the extra mile for you. Is always a good way to run a business.
Yep. 14. Tell the truth. I love this. Tell the truth, but make the truth fascinating. I love that.
Yeah, because sometimes you got to tell the truth and it's hurtful, or it's it's challenging, especially if you're in a downturn or you're in a lull in sales, or you've stagnated in growth, and you gotta be able to tell the truth to yourself and to the people around you that are gonna maybe help you turn it around. But truth hurts sometimes.
Yeah, it does. Tolerate genius. There are very few men of genius. Almost without exception, they are disagreeable.
Yeah, the real
yes, yeah. I would say the more genius a person is, the more disagreeable they can tend to be.
I'm trying to think, like, in that description, who I've ever been around. I personally, I'm not belittling all the people I know all over the world, but I don't think I've really been around for a long period of time a genius.
Yep, same.
Like they're so rare, and so it's just funny. Like you think the obvious, you think like Steve Jobs and Elon and like in the current thing, and they're just so rare. I mean, my goodness. I've been around a lot of very wealthy, smart people, and I don't know them enough maybe to know if they're geniuses or not, but it's just a rare thing. And so, man, that's lightning in a bottle. If you have a genius that would work for you and that's like so rare.
Yeah. Yep. Verse 16, we prefer verse 16, like I'm preaching a sermon. Number 16, we prefer the discipline of knowledge to the anarchy of ignorance. This is really what we talked about at the beginning. Be disciplined, right?
Yep.
I love this one. 17, don't bunt, aim out of the park, and aim for the company of immortals.
Yeah, so good, man. It's like, I don't know, when was this written? Probably 40 years ago?
Yep.
Years ago? Still that absolute timeless truth. I mean,
Let me ask you a question about that. Because sometimes you need to bunt as a business. If a person has founded a company, if they're a visionary, if they've started a company, my guess is their general personality is swing for the fences.
Totally. Has to be.
How do you know when the right time to swing for the fences is? Because I'm a swing for the fences kind of guy, but I also know that it's not always the right environment to swing for the fences, or the conditions aren't right. And I think people think of entrepreneurs as just people that are just risk taker. I actually think entrepreneurs are like calculated risk takers. Talk to me about the difference, because you've had times in your life where you had to aim for out of the park. And if you missed out of the park, it would have been horrible.
A little bad.
So how have you, and if we need to look at the rest of these later and spend some time on this, we can. How have you sorted that out? How do you know when to aim for the fences and when to bunt, so to speak?
I think that has a lot to do with momentum and where you were at on the momentum pendulum. So you think about starting a business, you come out swinging, right? And then hopefully you might get a home run, you might hit a single, if we're using the baseball analogy here. And when you hit momentum, like when the flywheel, so Jim Collins, Good to Great, flywheel principle. Takes a lot to move the first rotation, right? So you got to know when your flywheel is moving, when you've got momentum. That's when you should double down and swing more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like when you're in cricket, which I actually have Australia playing England over here on my other monitor.
Nice.
Like once you start hitting runs, you want to just put your foot on.
Mm-hmm.
And you think the ball is like this big, right? And it's the same in golf. Like when you're hitting it really good and it feels like you can't miss, you just keep swinging like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're off, right? If you're in baseball or cricket, right, and you're swinging and missing, especially in cricket, right, and the ball's moving around, you might have to go defensive, right? And so there's times where you've got to defend a position, and there's times when you're going to attack. And I think it all has to do with knowing the momentum that you have. So in business, I think, sales are, you just hit something starts working. And you've tried 50 things and one of them starts to go, you triple down. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, that's like the moment of, okay, I got some momentum here. I'm going to start swinging. Like we're going to, in this moment, like look at corporate AI, right? Like you're pre-product, you're generating a lot of buzz, right? You're just going to keep tripling down. You're going to keep, right? Like you're getting the New York Times now and Fox and you're just going to go berserk.
Yep.
For the next month. And then your product's going to hit, and then you're going to tell your email subscribers that, hey, and then like they're going to put their hand in their pocket and buy it.
Right.
Right. And so that'll be a different moment. And then you'll kind of assess that. And then the product won't be what you want exactly. And then you're going to go and so there's all these kind of fits and starts in business. But I think to me, it's knowing when I've got the momentum, when I'm downhill, I just triple down. And then you make the most, because I think the reason there's 4 seasons, God made 4 seasons. I've always kind of looked at the 4 seasons as kind of a life metaphor too. Like there are periods in your life when it's winter, nothing is growing.
Yeah.
It's brutal. And literally you're just hunkering down, trying to get through the freeze.
Yep.
Right. And you hope those seasons are short, There's periods where there's spring and stuff sprouting and things are popping through and there's signs of life. And then summer hits and boom, they start growing. And so you just got to know the season you're in.
Yeah.
Personally, in business, financially, in relationships. I think you got to just like ask yourself, and I kind of do this pretty regularly, like what season am I in right now? Summer doesn't last forever in the earth, right? In nature. And I think God made it like that because things aren't, it's just not straight up and to the right.
Right.
Like look at every great company in the last 50 years and look at their growth, right? They had periods when it went up and to the right. Then they had periods of maybe negative, maybe flat, right? And then all of a sudden something happens and then go again, right? It took Amazon like years. Like he's selling books. Right. And like nothing. And in the .com boom, man, its stock went like $2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's up 2,000% in 23 years. But on the way, Apple the same. Apple went to nearly zero, nearly went bankrupt. Right. So, the seasonality of life, the seasonality of business is a thing. And you've got to know when to, because if you're expending all this energy in winter, it means you're wasting. Not preserving and conserving for when the spring hits. And so I just think it's a good, in general, lesson to just think about what season of life you're in and adjust accordingly. And then you make those adjustments when things are in the winter, spring, summer, fall. Like fall's the worst in my mind. Like at least in a winter season, I know what I'm in. So I can hunker down and just get through. The fall is like, what's going on? Everything I built is like, it's falling. It's horrible. And it's the transition from awesome productivity summer. Like, I'm in Park City, the sun's out, it's starting to warm up. I mean, I just love it, right? In Southern California this year, we had like 5 months of rain.
Oh my gosh.
Start of the year, it was horrible. But that is exactly the same with life. and just about anything, like marriage, business, everything, friendship,
church,
sometimes.
all of it. Yep.
Church for sure. I mean, shoot, there are times where that thing is just going nowhere. I had, 20 years of pastoring church, and, if I'm really honest, I probably had, out of 20 years, maybe 4 years of summer. Like when it was just growing without me doing anything. A lot of winters and some falls.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, we want to swing and we're going for it. But understand the season you're in and adjust accordingly, I think but always have hope, right? When things are the darkest, you're always looking for that first shoot, just brings. So you've got to always have hope, no matter what season you're in. And you can skip a season. You can skip a fall. You can skip a winter. That happens. But just understand the season and act accordingly.
Yeah, that's great. That's a beautiful thing about doing this as a Christian is during those different seasons beneath the surface, there's things God's teaching us. Most of the time about us, right? At least the way that what I always find it to be is especially in the falls and winters going, okay, what are you doing underneath the surface here that is actually more important to my development than what you learn when everything's going right. So 100%. Awesome. Good stuff. Well, hey, everybody, thanks again for listening. Again, you can follow us on social media, YouTube, podcast, leave us a review, sign up for the email list. There's just always fun stuff going on. And again, just appreciative of you always listening. Just love hearing from all of you. So we'll see you back here next week.